Welcome to episode 15 of Countdown to Freedom in Iran. My name is Iman Hushman. As always, it's a pleasure to have you as our virtual guest for the only weekly English-speaking live stream dedicated to what's happening to Iran. Really, as always, grateful to have you all joining. And I hope you're having a great Wednesday, April 12th. It's Hump Day, and I hope that you've been having a great week so far. We got a great program lined up. As always, at the top of the hour, we're going to go ahead and have the wonderful, the fabulous, amazing Paris Mansouri giving you the latest news and updates out of Iran. Then we're going to have Sareh Kazemi giving us a Uniters update. We have a couple of great events coming up in South Florida. If you're in the area, hope you join us in person. And we're going to have Dr. Shiva Jahani having a mindful moment. And our special guest tonight is going to be Arash Rowshan. Maybe the name itself won't click, but definitely there's a lot of great content that he's created the last 7 months now. A lot of viral videos, very satirical, educational, informative, entertainment-like, pretty great content. He's originally a software engineer and the founder of the educational platform OSO.engineer. I can't wait to bring him on around 8:40. Stick around, it's going to be a great program. And yeah, so speaking of a couple of events, just want to go ahead and share it off the top. On Saturday, May 6th, Chelsea Hart is coming to Miami. For more information on the program that we have lined up, it's going to be a very special program. Click the link in my bio or follow the Let's Unite and Conquer Instagram. And as always, on YouTube, follow Unite and Conquer for all of our content. We're pretty excited about May 6th. And then Sareh Kazemi is going to give us an update on what we're doing on May 26th. And so overall, it's going to be a pretty interesting and hopefully impactful May 2023. It's also my birthday month, so maybe that's why we're making it so awesome. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get this party started. It's time to welcome your favorite guest, RISE Mansouri. Please put your hands together for the fabulous lady that always has the latest and greatest news out of Iran. I swear to God, this button is the smallest button that I always whiff on. So let's try it again. I wanted to make sure that we get everybody making some noise, dropping some hearts, giving some thumbs up, tagging Paris for how awesome she is, for coming so prepared each and every single Wednesday night. I'm starting to think that this is not my finger issue and that Paris is having an issue. Are we having a technical issue here? Hold on. Let me try once again. Yegara Jun, how are you? Mona Jun, how are you? We got Shiva Saber, and yeah, I don't know what else to press other than accept. Paris Jun, I have the same exact question. Let me see. It says Paris unable to join. Let's try once again. Hold on. You know what the problem is, right? It's waiting for more people to join us. Oh, there she is. Okay, here we go.
I'm like, why won't it let me join?
Our technical difficulties never fail us. How are you, Parasham?
I'm good. I'm here. I'm ready to go.
I know. Always appreciate you taking time out of your valuable schedule to educate us on the latest news coming out of Iran. So let's jump to it. It's day 207. It's insane every time I see the numbers here. Iran's president is shuffling his cabinet members around because of dissatisfaction with the government who got moved around.
Yeah, apparently things aren't going well in Iran. I don't know if he's heard or if anyone's heard, inflation is super high. There are protests. People are, on poverty levels over 50%. But yeah, let's shuffle two guys around. So there are many issues in the country, and the AP is sourcing Iranian media with a bunch of details of what's happened under Raisi, essentially. So the Minister of Agriculture and the head of Planning and Budget have been replaced. The AP article also says that earlier this month, Raisi dismissed the education minister after a delay in payment to teachers. Meanwhile, the delay in payment to teachers has been going on for over a year. Teachers have been protesting for over a year, but only now is, the education minister getting fired. So the article also says that inflation is at nearly 50%, which has contributed to widespread anger against the government. But again, there's more anger than, you know, just that against the government. The AP's like missing a huge chunk of the story. And there are also no words. So usually when cabinet ministers, regardless of what country you're in, when ministers get shuffled around and new individuals come in, there's usually a plan that's put forward. It's like, okay, well, that guy didn't do the job, so we're getting this guy to do the job because X, Y, and Z. Well, the other guys got the sack. New guys are in a position. We still don't have a plan. We still don't know what's going to happen. We still don't know how the problems for Iranians are going to get solved. So that's what's going on in the government in Iran, Iman.
President just keeps on pointing the fingers at other people instead of taking responsibility for taking the country down to an abyss. It appears that there are several countries joining hands and unifying against the U.S. Which countries are involved, and how does the Islamic regime fall into this?
So it's really important for anyone following the stories about Iran to kind of get into the geopolitics of it, because a lot of it is coming into play. So there are several countries that are joining hands to rally against the US. So as we know, the dollar is essentially the world standard. It's what everything gets exchanged in. Well, a couple of countries want to change that. So American folks, watch out. Do not turn your back or your heads to this story, because it's huge. Now, these nations, if you're following the story, you'll be familiar with this term. The term is called BRICS. Now, BRICS is an acronym for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. These are the countries that have joined ties, essentially. These are extremely wealthy nations who have a lot going for them. And basically, they have a lot of power and they have a lot of leverage, and they've basically banded together to change the standards and essentially the ruling nation of the world. They see themselves as an alternative to international financials and also the political forum. So we're gonna likely, if BRICS was allowed to succeed, then we're definitely gonna be seeing a change in conversation and the power vacuum as well. Now, how does the Islamic regime fall into this? The Islamic regime is tied in with China and Russia. As we know, the Islamic regime has sided with Vladimir Putin. And as we also know, China and Iran the Islamic regime have basically entered into a long-term 25-year agreement. So essentially, the Islamic regime has tied to two nations into BRICS, and with that comes a lot of perks and benefits. So China is going to support the Islamic regime. As if you guys are familiar with the story, and if you're not, we're going to cover it in this newscast about CCTV cameras being installed to track women to make sure that they're wearing their hijab correctly. That's one way China is helping the Islamic regime.
China's specialty.
Absolutely. And there's another way where China is helping the Islamic regime, and that basically to help build its relationships with its neighbors, and basically fostering an agreement between Saudi Arabia and the Islamic regime. I know we discussed it on our news segments a couple of weeks ago, and finally it's coming to fruition. The Islamic regime's government representatives are currently in Saudi Arabia right now discussing when they're going to reopen the Iranian embassy in Saudi Arabia. Right, like literally it's happening. We weren't sure if it was, but it's happening. They're reopening the embassy in Riyadh, and they're opening a consul general in Jeddah. So since a while ago, this, you know, the relationships were frozen because of terrorist activities between the nations, and it seems like they're letting bygones be bygones.
The bullies on the playground tagging up even more. Speaking of playgrounds, more school poisonings?
Absolutely. Unfortunately, Kermanshah, Isfahan, Amol, Tehran, the list is long. There have been over 250 chemical attacks since November 2022, and we're not seeing an end in sight. What we are seeing now is that the Islamic regime has given instructions to national media for them to not cover this story. So media inside Iran has been giving specific instructions to not discuss this, which means that the stories that are coming out are really the incredible, brave civilians who are willing to share these stories. So it is our responsibility to continue being their voice. Please do. They're very difficult images to share because obviously there's children involved, but we also have to remember that using chemical gas in war is illegal. Like it is a crime. Like the world condemned Saddam Hussein for using chemical gas, and now the Islamic regime is using it on its own people, and the world is silent. The UN is silent. UNICEF is silent. And we need to continue being the voice of our people. It's extremely terrifying. And there's also, to anyone following the story, there's also audio of a school principal threatening family members, because a lot of individuals are no longer sending their daughters to school out of fear of what could happen to them. Because we have to understand, we don't know what this gas is. We know that individuals are choking, but we don't know what the long-term effects are. So there are parents who are just choosing not to send their children to school. And there is an audio of a school principal threatening those families, saying that there will be repercussions on you and your child if your child does not come to school. So it's a really terrifying situation to be in, especially because nobody is covering it. Please do continue sharing the story when it comes across your feed.
Do you, or does anybody who's watching know where the headquarters for UNICEF is, or United Nations in
New
the
York.
US? New York?
Well, in North America is New York, and then the other one is in Brussels. That's where they have their meeting.
I mean, it's really crazy. I feel like if all Iranians in the US want to make a powerful move, like, we need to kind of like make some noise outside of those buildings, you know? Perhaps something to kind of consider, because they've been truly silent.
Art by Noli says UNICEF is a joke. Absolutely right.
No, it is, but I'm just saying, like, maybe like just kind of causing a ruckus over there will help. I don't know. It's insane that these organizations that are supposed to be fighting for human rights are doing anything but.
At the same time, Iman, we have to remember that there is a report in Psychology Today that came out saying that this is mass hysteria, that article had been taken down. There was a statement made, but the writer of that article is standing by what they wrote, and they're trying to get that republished. This is not mass hysteria. This is individuals who are being affected, individuals dying. The school children in Iran are getting gassed. This is not mass hysteria. It's an important story that must continue to get shared.
Like, imagine that you're writing a story about this and all you can say is this is mass hysteria. Like, it's like you're better off just not even writing. Let's talk about hijab enforcement. The topic isn't going away, and it seems to be getting worse every week.
Yeah. And Iranian Shizan are continuing to disobey the laws all over the country. We see the videos, we see the pictures on social media. The latest news is that the government officials have basically told women that if they do not abide by hijab laws, they will not have access to the subway system. Now, this is right after last week, where they said that if you don't observe the hijab, you will be denied access to education, regardless of the level that you're at. It could be, grade school, just like it could be university. So the government is really, really cracking down. As we mentioned earlier in this news broadcast, that CCTV cameras are tracking women, so women are not safe. Perhaps there's no more, the little white and green cars, Gashte Eshard morality police going around arresting people. No, they're tracking people by their face, by their cameras, and directly going to their homes to make, arrest. Also, there was another report about mullahs requesting that neighbors report neighbors. If you see your neighbor not observing the hijab correctly, you should be reporting them. That's another thing the Islamic regime is trying to do. Shops and restaurants are being closed down if they accept patrons who are not observing the hijab correctly. And we have seen individuals, there was a video that went viral of a man throwing yogurt on the head of two women who were not observing it. The shop owner came to their defense and the shop was closed down. So let's please continue sharing this post for the love of everything good. Cover the people's faces. If you see individuals and you're sharing their stories, it's one thing for them to uncover their faces, but we don't want them to be targeted. So please put a heart, put an emoji, put something. In sharing their stories, maybe they didn't have the means or the methods to cover their own faces, but if we're sharing the stories, let's please not put them in great harm's way. Let's please cover their faces.
Yeah. I'm going to give a shout out to my friend Donya Ziraksaro, who's here. First of all, she said Taliban did the same thing years ago to stop girls from going to school. And also, Donya has been working really, really hard and having a lot of great conversations in Persian. So I highly encourage you to follow her. She also is part of the podcast with a group of Houston Iranians that I was a guest on a couple of months ago. So we all, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you watching, everybody else that's participating in the chats, consider everybody as a family, follow each other, support each other. Get educated from each other, and Donya for sure is one of those people that, you're going to benefit joining her community. Parish, and before we go into the list of protesters and detainees we wanted to highlight this week, can you please talk a little bit about Mojahed Kurkur, whose life is at risk in the most horrific of circumstances?
For our listeners who are not familiar with the story, back in November, the IRGC opened fire on a car. The car contained a family. It was a father, a mother, and a child. 10-year-old Kian Pirfalak was shot and killed. The story still gets to me all these, months later. If you follow his hashtag, this sweet little innocent boy absolutely killed for no reason. His father is now wheelchair bound. His mother has been deprived of her job for basically speaking out about what happened. The IRGC has been passing the blame for this senseless murder on to protesters. So they caught some protesters and they're basically turning them into scapegoats. The protesters are Mujahid Kur, who's one of them, Human Said Ali and Bahman Bahmani, we've been mentioning. Basically, they're the scapegoats. They have been tortured into making false confessions. Mujahid Kurkur, his false confession was aired on Iranian national TV. Let's please use his name, use his hashtag, make him famous to save his life. We've been talking about that for months, but it's extremely important that we do that. And especially we have to remember Kian's father witnessed the crime. He was there. He's still alive to talk about it. And he has made a video saying that these individuals did not kill his son and he knows who did. So we're going to talk about protesters and detainees, but it's really important. Mujahid Kurkur, Homan Said Ali, and Bahman Bahmani. Let's please keep their names out there.
Let's get to the protest of detainees. We got 4 more minutes, so we got to go through these quickly. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm going to try not to get emotional over this one because it was a hard one. I don't know if you heard this story. Came out in the U.S. Sun. It's a horrific story about a 70-year-old grandmother. She's a human rights activist and a leader in the Baha'i community. Sorry. Her name is Mahfash Sabit Shahriyari. And interrogators at Evin, keep in mind she's a 70-year-old grandmother. During her interrogation, they broke both her knees under torture. She's serving a 10-year sentence, and she was arrested last summer as part of the regime's repression of the Baha'i community. And of all the suffering the Baha'i community goes through, to have a 7-year-old woman be tortured to this degree, it's just, sorry, I know I'm supposed to be like a professional reporter, but it gets to me. There's also Fatemeh Sepehri, let's not forget her, 59-year-old political activist, serving an 18-year sentence. We talked about them every week, Habib Shab and Jamshid Sharmad, who are foreign nationals who were abducted and brought to Iran to suffer sham trials and now facing the death penalty. And we also have Reza Norouzi. He's still in jail. All he did was basically say that he supported Shahzadeh Reza Pahlavi, and now he's under severe torture. So hashtag Reza Norouzi. And I apologize to our audience for crying, but I'm sorry, a 70-year-old grandmother. All of our Iranian detainees suffering under torture is unacceptable. But when you just think about a 70-year-old grandmother having their knees broken, for absolutely no reason.
Well, first of all, no reason to apologize. Doesn't make you any less professional of a journalist. If anything, you're a human first, and your humanity is showing. And these are just heartbreaking things to hear and see, So, very quickly, what are the action items this week?
Let's keep at it with IRGC terrorists. There are still activities over in the UK trying to get the EU basically to recognize the IRGC as a terrorist organization. But as we covered in previous week, the Biden administration doesn't want that to happen. So we got to do our part, continue really amplifying the voice on this hashtag IRGC terrorists. Obviously, Saif Sharmad, Reza Norouzi, and let's not forget Tumash Salehi, Saman Yassin, and Elnaz Mohammadi, Nilufar Hamidi, who are the reporters who broke the story.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, please make sure you use these hashtags as much as possible. Persian, a final message for our listeners?
The same one every week, and it's only because we should be proud of the name of our language and not allow foreigners to not use it. The moment that we just in English continue using the word Farsi in whatever language we speak, we're deleting the word that represents our language in the language that we're speaking. So when we speak in English, our language is called Persian. When we speak in Persian, our language is called Farsi. So when we say the word Farsi, when we're speaking in English, Farsi is actually not an English word. So let's use the correct term for our language is Persian.
Thank you. And also, Donya said, watch my short film about religious minorities in Iran. She's Baha'i, link in her bio. I haven't seen it, but I'm pretty sure that it's a good film, and I'll check it out myself. Also, there's somebody that asked what happened to Hassan Firouzi. Do you have any updates?
Yeah, I've been searching for information about him, and unfortunately what happens with these situations is that the families get forced into silence. So it's extremely hard to get follow-up stories that are completely accurate because the families' lives are being threatened. And so many people, if you read their stories and you follow the trails, they're saying so many members of our families have ended up in jail because we were just asking about the state of our loved ones. So Hassan Firouzi is one of them. He's actually a really heartbreaking story that I tried to find information on, and unfortunately I haven't. So if you come across it, please let me know. We'd all love an update on him.
All right. Thank you, Parashun. Appreciate you jamming all that into a little amount of time. And again, appreciate you going through all the emotional turmoil to having to dig up these stories and sharing them. We appreciate you. Everybody, please drop some hearts for Parashun. We'll put her heart and soul into every episode of Countdown. Have a good night, Parashun. Take care. Bye-bye.
Good night.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, keeping it moving. We got Sareh Kazemi joining us shortly. 8:30, we have Shiva Jahani with a mindful moment. And 8:40, it's going to be our special guest, Arash Rowshan. Please stay tuned for that great guest of ours who's joining us this evening. Sareh is one of our uniters, and we're going to be talking about upcoming events. Hi, Sareh June.
Hi, Iman.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Not too bad. Is that a bunch of hearts on your shirt?
They're like Christmas lights.
Oh, yeah.
I'm representing Adidas
Christmas
tonight.
in April. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
Cool.
it's Easter colors.
Oh, there you go. Wonderful. Appreciate you joining us as always, our awesome uniter.
Thank you.
We got a couple of special events going on in the coming weeks, huh?
That's right. We do.
Which one would you like to talk about first?
So let's talk about the critical mass event on May 26th first.
Let's do it.
So our team has been thinking about how we can continue to bring awareness. I'm going to put my screen down because these glasses are not glare. My prescription ones are coming. But on May 26th, we're going to be talking about, we're going to be joining, so let me back up. Our team has been working to see how we can continue to be active in the community and continue to bring awareness, especially amongst non-Iranians, so that the momentum around the Iran Revolution is not lost, even if, you know, we're not hearing as much out of Iran. So what we've decided is that at the last Friday of every month, in various cities, actually across the nation, specifically in South Florida, there is a bike event that is somewhat structured already. It takes place, people have experience with it, there are guardrails in place, there's an existing route, and anyone can join. Anyone can come, bring their t-shirts and their flags and their music if they want to, and have this bike ride be a part of whatever activity they're trying to do. So the Uniters thought about potentially going there on May 26th, participating in the bike ride and wearing our Masa Amini shirts, bringing our, you know, Woman Life Freedom flags, perhaps playing Baraya as we're riding through the route, and using it as a way to, one, have a bonding experience, uniting Iranians that are interested in continuing this you know, effort, and also bringing awareness to the existing ongoing Iran Revolution amongst other attendees at the Critical Mass event. And again, so this is being held on May 26th. It's the Miami Critical Mass. So if you Google Critical Mass Miami 2023, you'll get more information on it. But it typically starts at the Government Center and in Miami, and you start at 6:30. The bike actual ride starts somewhat later. You do have to have a bike and come there. There are other people that, you know, are not biking and they're using scooters. I understand. I haven't been there myself, but we plan to be there, hopefully all biking, and in our material to being able to bring awareness to this. The bike ride is somewhere between 15 to 20 miles. So you do want to make sure that you're prepared and obviously safety first, and that you're able to accommodate this kind of active protest. So more information will be forthcoming as we get ourselves organized. We'll continue to share it on Countdown, but everyone can kind of save the date on May 26th.
Yes. So, by the way, 6:30 in the morning or p.m.?
Sorry, 6:30 p.m.
Oh, really? In the evening? Okay, good. Because
In the
6:30, I was
evening.
going to be like, hell no. I'm just joking.
No.
But yeah, so a couple of things. First of all, this critical mass thing, it's great that it's done in other cities in the country. And so if you're not in the South Florida area, you might want to go ahead and piggyback off this and do it in your own city and get 10 or 20 Iranians or freedom fighters to kind of join you. So hopefully what we're doing in South Florida will kind of give you an idea to do stuff in your respective city. And if you're in South Florida and you want to help us get the word out to everybody in South Florida, just make sure you either follow Sareh's page or you follow the Let's Unite and Conquer Instagram page. Stay tuned with more details and just help us amplify this. There's great opportunity to get the word out here and just a bonding opportunity as well. And a little bit of exercise, which God knows I need it.
We all do.
Sareh Joan, what about the second event that's happening on May 6th?
Yes, so Iman has been mentioning it, and I'm going to continue to amplify it because we need to continue to support and reciprocate the support for this powerhouse of Chelsea Hart, who's coming to give us an actual live show that prior to which there will be a reception held at Platform with drinks and hors d'oeuvres, and then we're going to go right next door to the Meridian, where we'll have a little bit of a get-together prior to an actual full-hour live set from Chelsea Hart. This is in preparation for her final preview of an event she's putting together in Edinburgh titled Damn It Gam. So she wants to continue to bring awareness to what's happening in Iran and continue this conversation. And she's doing it in a way that is, natural to her or to them as a past comedian. Or as a comedian in doing these live shows. So I, for one, personally want to continue to support her in the way that she has supported us in the last, 7 months. So excited for that. We do have an Eventbrite link that is certainly being shared on many of our stories. If you haven't seen it, it's on my story at For Woman Life Freedom or at the Let's Unite and Conquer page. We're constantly sharing that Eventbrite link. There are, limited tickets, so they're currently at a lower price, and once we get closer to the event, if there are tickets remaining, they'll be slightly higher at the door. But you'll see that the cost is very reasonable and covering certainly, both the reception that you're getting prior to it and the full 1-hour show with Chelsea Hart.
That was great explanation there. I don't even have to add too much, but basically, food is included. There's going to be some great Persian foods, Persian-inspired drinks. But what I really like the most is that this is a very Khodamuni event. Chelsea really just wanted to kind of test out the material for the actual Edinburgh Fringe comedy set, which is really the ultra festival of comedians going over there to do one of their sets. So it's a big deal for comedians, and Chelsea wanted to test out this whole set in a couple of cities, and she chose Miami to be one of them. I believe she's doing one in Chicago and New York as well. And we're looking forward to rolling out the Persian carpet here in South Florida for Chelsea. And there's only going to be about 60, maximum 70 people. So you get a chance to also get to know Chelsea, have a little photo op, and just a meet and greet, and just meet some other cool Iranians in South Florida. So
yeah, I think what I would add to that, Iman, was at past events that we've done, at Balche, tickets do sell out, and people, unfortunately towards the end, or when they're recalling oh, it's coming up, we're trying to buy tickets, unfortunately we have to turn people down. But it is a really warm event where people are there with the intention in mind that we're all there to create unity and to continue to invigorate each and every one of us to continue to do what we can in our own ways. This is not necessarily celebratory in nature. I don't want to make it seem like it's insensitive. All of the events that we have done, you have put together at Platform, has been done so tastefully and always has, presentations or talks that invigorate one of us, all with the intent of keeping momentum around Iran revolution.
Yeah,
So
no, absolutely.
I think
And
that's important to mention. It's not just about like, supporting Chelsea, although I feel like we all should. And it's not just about bringing awareness to her comedy set.
yeah,
She's doing this with Iran in mind, and why not support it? Every effort matters, and for one, I'm grateful for all she's done.
no, for sure. And
They've done.
I can't think of too many non-Iranians that have put as much effort in the last 7 months to bring awareness to what's happening in Iran than Chelsea. So I'm just glad that we're able to host Chelsea, and I hope the South Florida community comes out and enjoys a great program. All right, Sergeant, our time is up, but as always, appreciate the effort in making this segment happen and all you do for Unite and Conquer. Enjoy the rest of the evening and more tortilla if you're going to have it too.
No more tortilla chips.
Take care. Bye-bye. All right, we're going to keep on trucking. Thank you for Sarah for joining us. We're going to have Dr. Shiva Jahani, and then at 8:40, we're going to have our special guest, Arash Rowshan. So let's bring on the fabulous Shiva Jahani. She's going to be doing some Soham mantra meditation. I probably mispronounced it, but that's why we have Shiva Jahani here to explain it. Hi, Shiva Jahani.
Hi, how are you?
Great to see you. It's been so long.
Exactly. I'm so happy and I'm grateful for tonight.
It will be so great to see you more often, but at least we're happy to have you here this evening. So let's jump right into it, Shiva Jahani. For our mindful moment tonight, we're talking about, is it Soham or the Soham?
Soham mantra meditation.
What is it?
Okay, so let me start with what is meditation. So, and then I will discuss about and talk about, what's mantra and what the mantra like Soham is famous and people, use that. So first of all, why we are meditating? Because meditation is a journey from activity into silence. So, whenever we are meditating, it's an opportunity to turn our awareness inward and also settling into, deeper and deeper and quieter place of our awareness and level of our awareness, and also experience this silence within us. And the important things about, meditation, because Deepak Chopra, according to Deepak Chopra, daily thoughts are like 60,000 average, like if we are having 60,000, yes, just very, the average, maybe million, I have no idea, but to say average, thoughts.
So I'm not crazy. I thought it was that many, but I thought it was just crazy.
Yes. So it depends. It's the average thoughts are just like 60,000, and the meditation will help us to just, slip into the gap between each thoughts, because we were taught to just keep doing instead of being. So that meditation will help us to pause and, rest in being. And when we are resting in being, we are experiencing that we are not our thoughts, we are not our emotions, then really, where are we? We are space between our thoughts. So that is our peace, it is our love, and we are experiencing pure love, pure happiness, because joy is permanent, part of us. And if we find it through meditation, then we can just, help others to, to comfort them and just, experience the same things. So that's all about meditation, and interestingly, when we are meditating, we are feeling renewed love and compassion, and that people can see how we are just, we are loving people, because we are tapping into that. So meditation will help us, find a good version of ourselves, and also discover our uniqueness and our, our creativity. So that will help us to not judge ourselves, and also knowing this is our best, our perfection, and then also unbounded nature. So that's the ultimate goal of meditation, tapping, and also again, it's like awakening, alignment. So that's what, is all about meditation. And the good things about meditation is listening. We are listening to each other. So we learn to listen to each other, to be compassionate, and as I said, loving people, and also, expand our, our awareness. So that's all about meditation. And and I just now go back to mantra. So what is mantra meditation? Some mantra is a vehicle. So vehicle go within. So we need vehicle or instrument. So like a mantra has two parts, like a mantra. So mantra is mind and tra is instrument. It means mantra is instrument of mind. So when we are using mantra and repeating the mantra, the vibration and sound of this mantra help our mind to shift the state of mind and go to deeper levels of awareness. Then we are experiencing the silence, and this is about mantra. And another thing about mantra doesn't have any meaning in no dictionary in our mind. For example, I said like to you, Iman, when I say soham, what's in your mind? Do you?
Ham and cheese sandwich. It was the only thing in my head the last 5 minutes. I had to get that out. Okay, bad joke. Go ahead. I have no idea.
So when you have no idea, that works. Because the mind is not looking for anything. So mind will rest. And then when mind have no activities, so then you are able to just move from A to B, from A, from activity into silence. So that is like a vehicle that help you move from A to B. So that's the same mantra will help. But as there are millions or thousands of types of meditation, but mantra meditation is one of that types and help people. They cannot control them thoughts, so that is a vehicle they can use it. And I'm certified for mantra meditation that help people to give their own mantra, private mantra. This is private. They can have it for their entire life, and this sound and vibration help them to just whenever they are, they can practice, with this sound and vibration. And the good things about sound is the fastest thing, science proved that, can affect the brain and, and shift the state of mind. So that's why vibration and mantra works well.
But what about Soham? What's the difference between that?
Soham means it's a comment about I am exist. So that's what we are appreciating. So when Soham, it means I am. So when we are stressing out, we really lost because we have a lot of thoughts. All of our thoughts are racing, and we can't control them. And this is emotion. So when we start, we say Soham, the vibration of Soham help us to first quiet, and slip into the gap of thoughts, and then we are saying I am, so I exist. So that helps brain to realize that I'm not my thoughts, I'm not my emotions. Really, I'm exist, and I'm peace, I'm love. So Soham is very famous and common for people to just use it if they don't have their own mantra. Because as I say, you can have your own mantra, or you can use, those mantras that really help people be just back to their own true self. So that is meditation. You just experience.
Let's end the segment with talking about all the benefits. We got 2 minutes to go over the benefits.
Okay, so the benefits, if you want, you may want to sleep better. You want to feel less stress. You may want to improve your relationship. You might want to have more joy and happiness. So they're all the meditation will do for you. So the only things you have to find the best routine for yourself, and you don't need anything for meditation except two things: sit down and close your eyes. When you feel safe, close your eyes. So that's the only thing, and always some meditation better than none. So I would recommend people really meditate 20 seconds, and just close your eyes, think nothing, and just bring your attention and focus on your breath rhythm and your heart space. That's it. So this is like a simple meditation, and you can do wherever, on plane, at work, at home. And also I would recommend people just, that is a common question. They say there are many thoughts when we are meditating, our thoughts are racing. So what we should do is just simply come back. If you use your mantra, just come simply back to your mantra and use your own mantra, and then see and observe your thoughts, but do not move with them. So simply come back and return your attention to your mantra, or to breath, or to your heart, area. So that will help you to just, shift your state of mind and experience the silence.
Great stuff as always, Shiva Jahani. If you're interested in finding out more about meditation and a lot of great things that Shiva Jahani does, please follow her Instagram page. There's a lot of positivity and a lot of great advice to have you live a more calm, loving, and peaceful life, which we all need to do. So thank you so much, Shiva Jun. As always, you're an amazing contributor to the program and an awesome uniter. Wadafez.
Hafiz. Have a good night. Bye.
Shabbat Mecher. All right. As one lovely lady guest leaves, we have a gentleman guest is about to enter. It's our pleasure to welcome our special guest for this evening. It's Arash Rowshan. As I was mentioning earlier, he's an Iranian-American consultant and software engineer and the founder of the educational platform OSO Engineer. He's been working at some of the world's best well-known companies and most recognized brands. And during this revolution, which I'm sure you've been noticing, he's been using his platform to create content about Iran that is not only relatable to us Iranians, but completely understandable by non-Iranians. Really some impressive content, and I'm really happy to get to know him a little better. And hopefully you get to know him a little bit better too. Arash from the beautiful city of San Diego. Please help me welcome him as we get connected. And there we go. Arash on Durud.
Hey, hey, hey.
Great to see you, my
I don't
friend.
know what happened to my sound as soon as you entered me in.
Okay. I like your flower in the background. Very nice.
All right. I'll just talk without the headphones. You hear me okay?
Yes, but do you mind just bringing the camera? Oh, there we go. I just want to make sure we get your whole good-looking face into the picture. I like your Zan Zendegi shirt representing.
Thank you, thank you. You can tell this is my first live. I'm a newbie.
Let me know if you need an engineer consultant to help you out.
I know. That's not a good look for an engineer, is it?
It's all good, man. Great to see you, my friend. We just mentioned you're an engineer. You know, you've been doing a lot of consulting. Someone with obviously a lot of tech and technical knowledge. How did you end up making content in the first place? Like, when did you transition to content? And then we get into how you got into the revolutionary stuff.
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I would say it's been so dynamic that my reasons have changed. But initially, I think like most Iranians, I just wanted to be the voice of people in Iran. So just raising awareness, like what's going on there that people are not hearing it here. And especially that the news resources here for, you know, different reasons weren't covering it enough. So that's how it started, to just, you know, use my platform. I used to make educational videos on TikTok. So I just dedicated that channel to be the voice of Iranians. And then gradually, I think it changed. So one of the things that was really prominent was the need for VPN. So Iranians, you know, didn't have easy access to internet. So I tried to kind of combine what I had learned through my, you know, career to be helpful to either create VPN or just make it easier for people to have access. And gradually, I also felt that I needed to either express myself or express what I felt a lot of other Iranians feel. And that ended up being dark humor. So it was this environment where I feel like most of us kind of felt similar things, but it was hard to express it with just words. There was a lot of anger, there was a lot of sadness, but also we didn't want to get into this paralysis. We wanted to be active, we wanted to fight back. And I felt like humor is the right vehicle to move that forward. So I think that's kind of like what ended up, you know, being my channel, a kind of mishmash of technology and somewhat political dark humor. And recently, sorry for the ramble.
No,
it's
all great. I have so many questions. Keep on going. You're good.
Yeah, I think since this movement has been very long, and I think it's even going to be a lot longer, something that got my attention is the work that we need to do around culture. So I'm not going to go into a ton of details, but I think there is a good amount of work that we need to get done on the cultural side of things. So right now, of course, you know, we have the Islamic regime, you know, doing what they do, but recently we see that, you know, women who don't want to, you know, wear the mandatory hijab very often are confronted by other people, not necessarily people who directly work for the Islamic regime, but people who culturally think that they have the right to enforce somebody else to wear something. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. So I think that, you know, on the cultural side, I will try to kind of make a little bit more content that touches on these points too.
I have so many questions. For example, where did you get this humor from? Like, or I mean, have you had this as an outlet before, or is this coming out of nowhere? Like, were you doing some type of dark comedy before, or is this truly like this comedic side of you that has come out? I hate to say comedy because nothing about this is funny, but it's like a character that, or multiple characters that you've created. I'm just wondering, what was the catalyst of this?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I think when I lived in Iran, I was funny, or at least I thought I'm funny. So I would make a lot of jokes with friends. And when I came to the US, obviously, you know, you gotta learn a new language, and you gotta learn so much context until you understand their jokes, and then so much more context until you can make jokes in a different language. So it takes a long time, and it always felt to me like, you know, my hands are tied. Like I can't really show that funny side, or I can't be funny. And when I started educating people on the tech side of things, so when I started teaching software engineering, I started like putting some, you know, little jokes here and there, and it helped people stay more engaged. And then when the Iran stuff happened, it really naturally came out. It was just that side of me that I feel like it was sleeping for a while, but I think that it's a side of me that helps me express what I think. And also, another reason of it, especially when I make content in English, I think for a lot of non-Iranians, it's a lot easier to digest the material if there is some humor in it, as opposed to kind of like, you know, straight up telling them the facts or the horrific things that are happening in Iran. I think the vehicle of humor makes it more digestible, makes, you know, obviously we have to accept that we live in an age where in social media, unless what you make goes viral, it doesn't matter how good of a message you have. If people don't hear it, it's kind of like a tree that, you know, fell in the jungle. Did it make a sound or did it not? Right. If nobody hears it, then it doesn't matter much. So the humor aspect of it, I think, is a necessary part of getting that message to be heard more.
I mean, you're in many ways, you're a unicorn of a content creator because you like balance out satire, comedy, dark comedy, it's intelligent content, educational content, and you're able to juggle both an Iranian demographic and educating a non-Iranian demographic. And even within Iranian, you have the Iranians that might be more Iranian, born and raised in Iran, or spend a lot of years in Iran, where they have very strong Persian skills. For example, I personally don't understand some of your content because the Persian is just a little bit too much for me, you know. But then you have the English content and some more dumbified Persian content where I do understand it. So you literally tap into so many different people. What I want to know is, why is this movement so important to you? Like at the core of everything, like just you know, Arash Rowshan, why are you fighting this fight?
Yeah, that one is an easy one. So I think the fight against the Islamic Republic, or at least the dislike, the fact that we don't want them, has been a constant. But there was a time after Mahsa Amini was killed where many of us who were in Iran in the previous waves, we felt that this is going to come and go. You know, same as before. We had the Green Movement. Before that, we had, you know, smaller waves. And there was a moment for me where I saw pictures of elementary school girls in Iran, you know, flipping off images of Khamenei, or stepping on the images, because in the school books in Iran, the first 2 pages are always pictures of Khomeini and Khamenei. And I saw that they had tore him up, put him on the ground, stepping on him. And for me, that was the moment that I felt that I don't want the next generation to go through the same things that, you know, the generation before us went through. We went through it, so we had to go search for a new home elsewhere. You know, it's more than 8 million Iranians are now living in different countries,
Yeah.
and they didn't leave because it's easy. They left because they couldn't live the life they wanted in Iran. And when I saw them, and people who are in Iran and people right now, people here too, understand how much courage it takes to do that. Like what consequences you can face by just by doing minimal things. But like they were like stepping on the pictures, and it just clicked for me that this is something that I'm willing to sacrifice a lot for.
Well, first of all, I appreciate you doing that. And to that end, what concerns did you have or do you have about making content that some may find offensive and might really piss off the wrong people? What goes through your head about those kind of things?
That's also a really good question. I feel like you and I need to talk for more than an hour over a beer or something.
We can always have these chit chats for sure. It's just the beginning.
Yeah. So it's almost like a muscle. So like from the very first video that I made, because it was kind of like, dipping your toe in the water. So now you're wet. Now a lot of people know that you're against this regime, this like murderous regime that sends people after, dissidents in even different countries outside of Iran. And then if you make, something else that targets people that are higher up in the regime, you're pissing off more people. Now, I happen to believe there is a very strong connection between religion and the regime. Lots of people say, well, no, they're just like, this is not that Islam and whatnot. So if I make a criticism or if I make humor about these relations, again, that pisses off a lot more people. But that's also the nature of a revolution. I mean, if it was easy, then it wouldn't be much of a revolution. If there was very minimal change to happen, then it would be some minor reform. But I think the revolution is gonna touch not only the regime but also each of us. I think I'm somewhat of a different person than I was 6 months ago, and I think if we really want to go through this revolution, many of us have to change a little bit. We have to be ready to get uncomfortable. So I try to kind of build that muscle of every time pushing that boundary a little bit more.
I mean, I feel like you kind of touched on it, but what do you say to those who are worried about creating content because of what others think?
It really depends on the area that they want to get deep in. I'm not going to say it doesn't have risks. We are familiar with lots of folks who have created content and it became problematic for them. But I would also say that this is what I think about. I rather live one day free, like completely free, than just, breathe for, years and years and years, but always just hold everything within.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I still don't feel like I have lived a single day completely free. I still feel like every time I'm digging in a little bit deeper, I'm still self-censoring. I'm still not 100% saying everything that's inside me, but I think it's one of those things that you have to develop. You have to kind of like work towards it. You have to get braver. So I know I'm not as brave as a lot of people who are, right now in Iran. It's just crazy. It's just crazy. Like, like folks who are right now stepping out, not wearing hijab. We have had people like Sareh Kazemi, Too Much, Hossein Ronari. I know I'm not there, but I will try as much as I can so I can be braver tomorrow than I'm today.
No doubt, man. I mean, you're setting a great example. I'm just curious. Can you kind of give me a breakdown of your audience? Like, what percentage are non-Iranians, and of the Iranians, what percentage are like more westernized? I'm very curious about like the segmentation of your followers.
Yeah. So when I started on TikTok, because all of my content was in English, and I taught technical concepts, pretty much everybody was non-Iranian. So it was more than 60-70% Americans, and then the rest Germany, Canada, England. And I started putting a few of the videos on Instagram because like some Iranians on TikTok were like, oh no, most Iranians are on Instagram. Like please share it there. So when I started posting on Instagram, and then I saw that a lot of people from Iran are following, I started making content in Farsi too. Now my Instagram channel has been completely taken over by Iranians. So more than 80% of my followers on Instagram are, they live in Iran. And so I have a bit of a, on TikTok, mostly non-Iranians, on Instagram, mostly Iranians.
That's pretty awesome that you have a big community from inside of Iran. So I'll let you end this awesome conversation by you speaking directly to those Iranians inside of Iran on behalf of Arash Rowshan, because most of the people have been seeing different characters. So if you have a message for Iranians that are fighting for freedom inside of Iran, let this be the closing segment, please.
Sure. I'll keep it short. Know that we love you, and I will say what Tumab says. یادمون باشه این باید این طول میکشه. این یه پروسه نیست که یه شب تموم بشه. ولی نور بر تاریکی پیروز میشه.
I love it, man. All right, so on behalf of a lot of Iranians, man, I genuinely want to just thank you. We're grateful for what you do. I hope that you continue to get showered with a lot of energy, positivity, and support so that you continue creating this incredible, unique content that is 100% making an impact on this revolution. I salute you, my friend. It was a pleasure getting to know you virtually. Hopefully we have more conversations, and hopefully we get to host you in Miami very soon.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
Take care. Good night. Ladies and gentlemen, please show some love for Arash, who joined us this evening from San Diego. If you were not familiar with him, hopefully you will follow him and you get to know him now a little better as an individual and a fellow Iranian freedom fighter. I was very impressed with him, and I'm very appreciative of him making time to join us. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we've reached the end of our program. Just a couple of reminders. Please, if you haven't already, follow the Let's Unite and Conquer Instagram page. Please subscribe to the Unite and Conquer YouTube channel. If you're in South Florida on May 6th, please join us for Chelsea Hart Live. She really deserves the support. Our community needs to come together even more and more. And hopefully Saturday, May 6th will be a day we can make that happen. May 28th, Critical Mass, Bike Ride, South Florida again. Just continue to follow the Unite and Conquer Instagram page for more information. Would like to thank our contributors, Shiva Jahani, Sareh Kazemi, and our journalist and also the producer of today's program, Paris Mansouri. Really appreciate you guys joining us once again. Much love. See you next Wednesday as we have a very, very special guest. If you haven't seen it yet, Yasaman, oh my God, I forgot the last name right now. How embarrassing! But she's a lead actor in the short film RISE, which came out, which really depicts a very powerful moment where Iranian in Iran is arrested. You have to go watch RISE, and the guest is Yasaman Mohsani. Oh my God, what a horrible end to a program. I apologize to Yasaman. I was trying to search the name, but that's our guest for next Wednesday, April 19th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I clearly am not able to get to the finish line properly. Love you guys all. Shab Bekhair. See you guys next week. Thank you very much.